Morning. This is Sean Davis. Welcome to the Sean Davis Show. How y'all doing today? Today we're going to be discussing ghost lights. Ghost lights. Now, I don't know. I had some people comment saying that they had found that they'd seen them and everything, but no one ever really gave me any stories this week. So I'll go into my own story. First time I ever heard about them, I was a young man, probably a teenager or whatever. I was discussing with my great grandpa. He was talking about how this area that we're going to talk about, this Hidalgo Ghost Light area, how that there was this probably 15, 20-mile radius, as the crow flies in the mountains. It's areas all pretty close together. Um, he said there was a little old lady being terrorized by a light at night, and him and his brothers was going over there and staying with this lady all night long because this light kept coming up to them. And while they were there, the light never did show up, but this lady was totally terrified. And of course, my grandpa thought she was either making it up or thought that she was, uh, you know, making it up because she was lonely, I think is what he told me. But this is a story. Anyway, this little lady's been terrorized every night with this light that keeps looks like a lantern floating through the woods coming towards her house. And it just comes up there and stops and never goes no further. And she can't see anybody. She hollers at them, "Hey, come on in. Who are you?" She shoots at it, whatever. Nothing happens, and it just never happens. So, so my grandpa and some of his brothers started going over there and they're staying at this house and with this little old lady. Of course, they're getting aggravated. They don't want to be here with this old woman all night. What's going on with this lady? She's tripping out. She's just lonely. She's all by herself, and he thinks that she's just wanting company. Someone to sit there with her. And finally, my grandpa, he gets up and walks over there, and she said, "Well, it's here almost every night, especially when it's raining or it's dreary and dark and there's no clouds." And my grandpa says, "Well, it's raining now, and I'm standing here looking out the window, and it's not showed up yet." So, he didn't believe her, obviously. My grandpa being a huge skeptic of anything like that. My great grandpa being hugely skeptical. Uh, but that's the first time I'd ever heard of a ghost light. I'd never heard anybody else ever talk about anything like this. But I've seen, after doing some research, there's some YouTube videos with it. You can do ghost light and look at some YouTube videos, and you'll find some. You'll find some places, where they went and looked and possibly seen some or whatever. But uh, long story short, we go on a little while later, and my best friend, my brother-in-law, his dad was talking about a light that would come to him in the woods down there in Hidalgo when he'd be coon hunting, and he thought it was the game warden. Well, he would be out there hunting, and uh, it'd be his property or whatever, but game warden always gave you trouble, or it could have been people out pot growing, or this, that, or the other, and you just didn't want to run across someone you didn't know in the area of the woods where they weren't supposed to be anybody else there but you. So, a lot of times you'd have a gun on you for snakes or whatever. And the game warden caught you out with the dog and with the gun. They're going to be saying, "Oh, you're shooting out coons instead of letting your dogs run, or just training. You're actually shooting them out of the tree or something." And you're not going to, with snake shots, you're not going to shoot a coon out of a tree. If anybody knows anything about coons, probably won't even reach that high. But it's still a big ordeal, a big hassle. They can do all kinds of things to it if they want to. So, long story short, you see a light in the woods, you just turn your light off. Not that you're doing anything illegal. It's just you just don't want to be uh, seen. If it's a dope grower, a lot of times they will. Well, I'll tell you this instance. I was out one night coon hunting, and dogs treed, and we started up the holler and over the mountain, down the holler, and got almost right across from where the dogs was at treed, but we had to go way down the side of the mountain and back up another side. It's cold, it's winter, it's fur season, it's coon season, and we see somebody with a light on there at our trees, uh, at the tree where the dogs are. So we shut our lights off thinking, it's the game warden, and we didn't exactly know where we was at. We thought we was off my buddy's property, but it wasn't really for sure. So we shut our lights off and just watched. And I was whispering to the guy with me. I was like, "Hey, is that on you? Is this your grandpa's place? Is this or is this your someone else's place? Is this one of his neighbors or what?" And he's like, "I'm not for sure." I said, This is We went on the other side of the mountain. I said, turned around. I don't really know exactly where we're at right now." So we sit there and we watched, and I said, "What is that? Who is that? Is that the game warden?" He said, "I don't think it's the game warden." Because the game warden would hiss the dog on the tree. And as we edged, the game warden will hiss the dog on the tree so that he's barking more and carrying on more, and he'll to get you to come to him so he can check you out to see if you got a pistol, to see if you got this, to see if you got that, got your hunting license, all that kind of thing. Well, anyway, we get down a little bit closer, we can look almost straight across. We shut off our lights and we just ease down through there to watch and see what's going on. This guy is beating the crap out of our dogs off this tree. I mean, he's kicking them, he's smacking them, he's hitting them, trying to beat these dogs off this tree, trying to run them off. So what that was, it was real close to uh, them harvesting their dope. They harvest it like after the first frost or real close to the frost. Anyway, what we had done, we got on somebody's pot patch, and they were beating the crap out of our dogs, trying to get them to leave so that would bring us in there to them. Well, that's a situation you could get killed in. So what we did was, we crawled out of that place. Now this was 20 years ago. I doubt I can even find this place anymore. Uh, no, it's more like 30 years ago because I was almost 20, nearly 30 years ago. Anyway, me and my buddy were crawling out of there, because hey, we don't know what kind of ammo this guy's got. We don't know who he is or nothing, but he's beating the crap out of a bunch of coonhounds, you know, trying to get them off this tree. And he obviously doesn't want them there. And he sure as heck ain't going to be happy and he sees us there. And we don't know how many guys are with him. So we scooch on out of there. A big enough pot patch, they'll kill you over. They'll kill you, leave you in the woods. But anyway, we that is why a lot of guys will turn their lights off when they see another light coming to them in the woods. So anyway, my brother-in-law's father, he's down there in the woods and he's coon hunting. He sees this light coming down the hill real slow, but he can't tell who it is. He thinks, well, it's a flashlight of the game warden or something. So he turns off his light and he just sits down real close to the tree. And this light comes right by him, just goes right by him, just keeps easing right on along, comes right by him. And he uh, circles around him, and he can see that there's absolutely nothing holding this light. It's just like a ball of light, just a ball of light out there in the out there just floating along in the woods. And he said it happened to him quite often, you know, and sometimes it would circle him and sometimes it would circle him real fast and like it just raised up out of the air and just vanished. And it was something that's really strange, something to really see. If you like that sort of thing. He said one night he was sitting on the front porch of his house and he was looking over at the mountain across from him. Of course, the leaves were all gone, and he could see a light. And he sat and watched it for, I don't know, seemed like he said 10, 15 minutes or something like that. He watched this light trace around this mountain, real, real, real slow, up and down the mountain. They go all the way down, just zigzagging down. Then he come all the way back around and go back up the other side, come back around. And he'd sit there and done that for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. He said he watched it a long time, a long time. We'll just say that. And while he's watching it there a long time, he noticed it starts getting faster and faster and faster. And he said it just in a little while after he started speeding up, it got so fast that it illuminated a figure eight on the side of that mountain and just got extremely bright. That figure eight did, and then just vanished. Very odd phenomenon. Very, very odd. Well, you go along and you hear these stories, and you think, well, there's nothing to some of this stuff. He's trying to scare us out of the woods, trying to keep us from getting down in there and getting snake bit. Or there's also a hole down there that in the creek that you fall in and never be found because it was like 300 foot deep, and if you went down in it, you was just gone. There's no coming out. So uh, there's no way of getting out of there. They said they dropped a rope down in it and you know with a rock and never hit bottom. So at 300 feet or something like that, down inside this spring, this mountain, and he said we didn't need to be playing in there as kids because we played in there all the time. And he said, y'all, you don't need to be playing in there. We dropped that down in there, and 300 feet or something like that. It was still going. We just ran out of rope and had to pull it back up. So, you know, uh, didn't want us down there playing around that place, especially at night and everything else. And that close to that spring and that creek that ran out of that spring. I just figured it was something like that. Something to kind of scare us kids away. And I thought about my grandpa, and stuff he said. It's just people with nothing better to do. Nobody had TVs much back then, and well, I mean they had some TV, but you had antennas, and you didn't get very good signal, and people told a lot of stories and tales just to try to keep entertainment. And that's kind of what I figured it was. Well, one night we was having revival at church down at Hidalgo, and we decided that we were going to go coon hunting. So a bunch of us brought our dogs. Well, I brought my dogs and uh, took them to church with me. And after church, we decided to go coon hunting up there in this area. Well, and we went over to my best friend brother-in-law's house. Him and my sister wasn't dating then. It was, my sister was 3 years younger than us, and we were in high school, about 16 years old. So, but the pastor's son, he decided he was going to go with us. Adam was his name. Adam and Bobby, we're just sitting there. We decided, hey, we're gonna go coon hunting, see what we can get. So I took my dogs and Bobby had his dogs, and uh, we left out and we went hunting. They didn't seem to be much interested in hunting. It's kind of a weird night. I mean, it's a perfect night for coon hunting, but no one seemed to be interested. The dogs just, wouldn't get away from us very far. They'd run for a little ways, wasn't picking up nothing, wasn't hitting nothing. And it's a good area, just a good area to be hunting in. And you'd think there'd be plenty of wildlife, coons in there, but nothing. Wasn't hitting nothing. It was just I don't know, like they weren't even out looking really, but they were away from us a little bit. Well, after a little while, the dogs finally went on and started hunting and going up and down the hills and stuff, and we could hear them, here and there. And we worked our way on up to the hill, and we come to a field where his neighbor had a log yard because he had been logging on it. Of course, uh, neighbors like that, they usually have permission to hunt on one another in this area anyway. If you're on good terms and everybody's good terms, cares really, if you're a good neighbor or whatever, and you can usually hunt on one another with no problem. But back in those days, anyway. Well, anyway, they're hunting. We're hunting there, and the dogs are out running and actually looking and hunting and smelling around, see if they pick up a trail. And we come up out of an old log road into this field, and we just kind of stop there for a minute because it's quiet, it's peaceful, and we can see way out there, long ways off from us, and it's just a nice clear spot to stop in and pause and listen for your dogs to hit trail or pick up something, and let the chase begin. Well, it wasn't just for a minute. The dogs come right back to us. They were out there just for a little ways, and just I don't know how long we stood there. Three boys standing there talking about girls and God and life. I mean, how I don't know how much time passed, while we were standing there shooting the breeze, so to speak. So the dogs come back to us, all four dogs. Bobby's two dogs, old Dan, little Ann, and my dog Clint and Ginger. They come back and they're right there underneath their feet. We can't get them to go hunt. They just all over us, just all over our feet, between our legs. Just they're not whining or carrying on. They won't leave. They won't go hunt. We say get them, and the dogs won't go nowhere. They just stay froze right there. All four of them. They're not fighting. They're not wrestling around playing together like puppies do. They just come back to us and stayed. Well, me and Bobby and Adam, I don't remember who seen them first, but out there in the middle of the field, it's like two headlights come on. We're like, oh, is that the game warden? We just paused and watched, and these two lights were side by side, perfect, about the size of uh, about the right width and distance of the headlights, on a truck or something. Well, these lights come up, and we thought there's truck. We thought, oh, that's Junior. He's seen us come up through here, and he's or heard our dogs and barking here and there, and he's come up here to see who we are or talk to us or whatever. Didn't think nothing about it. Well, these two lights start across the field real slow, side by side, perfect distance the entire time. Looks like car headlights. Well, they go all the way around the field. They get over there close to us. When they get real close to us, like right there, right then, like we can see what they are. They start spinning super fast. I mean, like, and they lit up the entire field like it was one big light. It was just a big, huge, two big, huge streaks all the way around the field. You couldn't even see that they were a light, you know. And there was no way it was like a truck or something like that. These things were floating and they were spinning. I don't know how to explain it, almost supersonic speed around this field. They illuminated the entire field and they didn't even look like balls anymore. They looked like two big streaks of light. And my dogs ran, Bobby's dogs ran, Bobby ran, the preacher's kid ran, I ran. I tell you what, I mean, this is bad to say, but we didn't turn on no lights or nothing. We got out of there. And Bobby Atkinson, he's 6'3". He run like a deer. Only time in my entire life I ever outran this kid. He's a man now, but when we were kids, the only time I ever outran this guy was that night. And I ran as hard as I could. I could hear him yelling, wait up. But I got the heck out of there. I don't know what the heck that was, but it scared off a bunch of dogs that are, fighters or hunting dogs that are, if you know anything about a hunting dog is mean, they'll fight. Even if they lose, they'll still fight. They got some grit about them. Whatever that was scared the crap out of all four of those dogs, and those dogs ran. And I know, well, those dogs are running. I don't want to mess with this thing. So I got the heck out of Dodge too, right? Now I'm running down through there, and I didn't stop till we got on his other neighbor's back porch. I jumped on that porch, and my dogs was with me, and then they come, and then Bobby and Adam, they follow behind. But we ran half a mile or a mile down the hill and down through the woods till we got to the neighbor's house. you know, Scared I ever been in my life. Did not know what the heck it was, but I ran as hard as I could. Uh, it's a funny story. If y'all have any stories like this, please like and share this. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. We're available. Uh, Follow us on Facebook. If you have any stories you'd like to share them with us. Uh, right now, our ads are turned off. Working on getting it back up on Spotify with this changeover. And so we are listener supported. Anything that you want to support, we appreciate it. Not asking for nothing, but it's available. Uh, but we need to try to get our subscribers up to 1,000 and get YouTube going. Get our subscribership up on Spotify too. get it get it up there. So if you have any stories, send them to us. Uh, Message us here. We'll contact you, reach out to you. We'll get your story. We'll tell your story or get you on the air with us, get you on the podcast. Um, Thank you all for your time. Please like, subscribe, and share. Peace out, brothers.